What if I told you that some of the most common medical tests after 70 could actually do more harm than good? Not because your doctor is wrong, but because your body has changed, and the rules should too. Stay with me, this might just change how you think about your health forever. You've probably heard it all your life. Get your checkups. Stay ahead of illness. Prevention is the best medicine. And for most of us, that advice made perfect sense. Regular health screenings, annual tests, full physicals, they were seen as responsible, even life-saving. But what if I told you that after a certain age, let's say 70, some of those same tests we've trusted for decades might actually do more harm than good? I know, it sounds strange at first. We're conditioned to believe that more testing means better care. But the truth is, not all screenings are harmless. In fact, some of the most common medical tests offered to seniors can lead to false alarms, unnecessary stress, and even risky procedures that compromise the very health they're supposed to protect. This isn't fear-mongering, it's a growing realization among doctors, especially those who work closely with older adults. More and more medical professionals are speaking up, questioning whether automatic, one-size-fits-all testing makes sense in our later years. Because here's the thing, aging changes the equation. What was helpful at 50 may be harmful at 75. The body becomes more sensitive, recovery takes longer, and small complications can quickly become major setbacks. So while the intention behind routine testing is often good, the outcome, for people over 70, can sometimes do more harm than healing. In today's video, we're going to take a clear-eyed, honest look at 6 common health checkups that seniors like you might want to think twice about. These are screenings that are still widely promoted, even celebrated, in mainstream healthcare. But behind the curtain, many of these tests carry risks that aren't always explained. You'll hear real stories of older adults who followed standard medical advice and ended up dealing with complications that disrupted their independence, peace of mind, and in some cases, their quality of life. Now let me be clear, this video isn't about avoiding healthcare. It's about smarter, more personalized care. It's about understanding that at this stage of life, you deserve medical guidance that respects your body, your values, and your years of experience. If you're someone who takes your health seriously, but you're also tired of being overtreated, overtested, or overwhelmed, you're in the right place. Because staying healthy after 70 isn't just about doing more. Often, it's about doing less, with wisdom. So grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's begin this journey together. We'll look at each test carefully, explain why it might not be as necessary as you've been told, and offer safer, more thoughtful alternatives that help you stay informed without putting your well-being at risk. This is your time, and your health journey should honor that. Let's start with a test that's almost become a rite of passage after age 50, the colonoscopy. For years, it's been considered the gold standard in preventing colon cancer. And for good reason. In our 50s or 60s, detecting polyps early can be life-saving. But here's what most people aren't told. After age 70, especially if you've had clean results in the past and don't have any symptoms, a colonoscopy may quietly shift from helpful to harmful. I know that's not what the pamphlets at the doctor's office say, but more and more experts are sounding the alarm about the risks of routine colonoscopies in older adults. And those risks are very real. Let's break it down. First, the procedure itself isn't as simple as people think. It involves fasting, drinking harsh laxatives to empty your bowels, then undergoing sedation and the insertion of a scope deep into your intestines. That might be manageable for a 45-year-old, but for someone in their 70s or 80s, it can be a serious physical challenge. The bowel prep alone can cause dehydration and disturb your electrolytes, things like sodium and potassium that help your heart and muscles function properly. For older adults, even slight imbalances here can lead to dizziness, confusion, and dangerous falls. And then there's the sedation. As we age, our bodies process medications more slowly, and we become more sensitive to their effects. That means the twilight sleep used during a colonoscopy can linger longer, causing grogginess, mental fog, and an increased risk of accidents afterward. But here's what might be most concerning. What happens if they find something? Even a tiny, harmless polyp, which might never grow or become cancerous, can trigger a wave of fear and follow-up procedures, biopsies, repeat scopes, sometimes even bowel surgeries that carry serious risks like bleeding, infection, or long-term digestive issues, all for something that, in many cases, didn't need any treatment at all. Let me tell you about George. He was 82, sharp as ever, played golf twice a week, no digestive symptoms whatsoever. His doctor suggested a just-to-be-safe colonoscopy. During the prep, he became dehydrated and weak. After the procedure, he was disoriented. So now, if you're over 70, feel fine, and have no family history of colon cancer, it's perfectly reasonable to say no to another colonoscopy. Today, there are excellent non-invasive options, like the FIT test or Cologuard, that can screen for signs of colon cancer without the stress, sedation, or risk of falling. It's not about ignoring your health. It's about honoring it, because as we grow older, good care isn't about doing more. It's about making the right choices, choosing what serves your life, your energy, and your well-being. And sometimes that means turning down a test, not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Let's keep going. Now let's talk about something that feels futuristic, even a little magical at first glance. The full body scan. It sounds smart, right? A machine that can look inside your entire body, head to toe, and catch problems before they become dangerous. Who wouldn't want that kind of peace of mind? But here's the reality. For older adults, especially those over 70, full body scans are often more of a trap than a treasure. These scans, whether CT or MRI, are incredibly powerful. They don't just catch major issues. They catch everything. Little nodules in your lungs, shadows on your liver, tiny cysts on your kidneys, most of which are completely harmless, especially in older adults. But once they're spotted, they become what doctors call incidental findings. And once that happens, it's hard to ignore them. Because let's be honest, the word abnormality, even if it means nothing serious, is enough to send anyone into a spiral of worry. You start imagining the worst. Your doctor recommends follow-up tests just to be safe. And before you know it, you're getting biopsies, seeing specialists, maybe even heading into surgery for something that never would have caused a single symptom. And for older bodies, those follow-up procedures aren't just uncomfortable, they can be downright dangerous. What might be a simple test at 40 could lead to complications at 75. Bleeding, infections, collapsed lungs, or extended hospital stays. Even just lying perfectly still for an hour-long MRI can be painful for aging joints or backs. Then there's the emotional toll. I once met a woman named Betty, 78, active, walked every day, full of energy. At a health fair, she took up an offer for a discounted full body scan. They found a tiny lesion on her kidney, probably benign, likely never would have caused harm. But the fear set in. She underwent surgery just to remove it, and spent months recovering from complications. Her energy never quite came back. The worst part? That lesion might never have affected her life at all. That what Betty experienced has a name: overdiagnosis. It's when you're diagnosed with a condition that never needed treatment, but the treatment itself ends up harming you. And let's not forget the financial burden. These scans are rarely covered by insurance unless medically necessary. Many seniors pay out of pocket, thinking they're buying peace of mind. But what they're really buying is a ticket to more tests, more doctors, and more anxiety. So what should you do instead? Trust your body. Listen to how you feel. If something Changes: if you have unexplained pain, fatigue, or symptoms, absolutely get it checked. But if you're feeling well, active, and your doctor hasn't found anything concerning in a physical exam or routine blood work, a full body scan might not offer any benefit and could actually cause harm. As we age, good health isn't about chasing every shadow. It's about protecting your energy, your peace of mind, and your independence. The truth is, not every test is a gift. Some are just more noise. And at this stage of life, choosing peace over panic, presence over procedures, that's not avoidance. That's wisdom. Let's keep moving forward. Now let's talk about a test that sounds like a no-brainer for heart health: the cardiac stress test. If you've ever had one, you know the routine. You walk on a treadmill while hooked up to wires. They monitor your heartbeat as it speeds up, checking how your heart responds under pressure. Sounds like smart prevention, right? But here's where things get tricky. After the age of 70, this test may not tell you what you think it does, and in fact, it might tell you things that aren't even true. That's because the older heart, like the rest of the body, changes over time. It's normal. Arteries stiffen a bit, rhythms shift, and blood pressure can fluctuate more easily. These aren't signs of disease, they're signs of age. But the stress test doesn't know that. What it sees are abnormal patterns. And too often, those normal age-related changes trigger what doctors call false positives. You get told there might be a problem with your heart, even if you've never had chest pain, shortness of breath, or fatigue. And from there, it begins. A domino effect of more testing. Angiograms, catheterizations, in some cases stents, or even bypass surgery. All for a heart that may have been functioning just fine. Now these aren't minor procedures. They carry real risks, especially for older adults. Bleeding, kidney damage from contrast dye, irregular heart rhythms, hospital stays, and once you're on that path, it's hard to get off. Let me share the story of George, a retired bus driver, 74 years old. He felt great. No heart symptoms, stayed active, even helped coach his grandson's soccer team. At a routine checkup, his doctor suggested a stress test just to be safe. The results were borderline, and a few weeks later, George found himself getting a stent for a blockage that hadn't caused a single symptom. Within a month, he developed a serious infection at the catheter site. He ended up in the ICU and spent the next 6 months in and out of rehab. His independence never fully returned. Now ask yourself, was that treadmill really worth it? The good news is, many top cardiologists and geriatric specialists are now recommending against routine cardiac stress tests in older adults who don't have symptoms. The science is catching up to what patients like George already learned the hard way. Just because a test exists doesn't mean it's right for you. So what is the right approach? It starts with listening to your body, not just machines. Are you having chest pain? Shortness of breath during normal activity? Fatigue that's unusual for you? If yes, then yes, evaluation is important. But if you're active, sleeping well, and feel steady day to day, that's a good sign your heart is doing its job. And more than any treadmill, your daily habits are what matter most. Walking, eating heart-healthy foods, staying socially connected, managing stress. These aren't just cliches, they're powerful medicine, especially after 70. Healthy aging isn't about chasing every possible disease. It's about protecting what matters most: your energy, your freedom, your peace of mind. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is not step onto the treadmill, but instead, step outside for a walk, breathe fresh air, and trust that your body, with the right care, will guide you better than any machine can. Let's keep going. By now, you've probably noticed a pattern. Tests that once helped us in middle age don't always make sense in our later years. And when it comes to colonoscopies, this truth becomes even more important to understand. Many people assume that getting colonoscopies every 5 or 10 years is just part of responsible aging. After all, colon cancer is serious, and this test has saved lives. But here's the question that rarely gets asked. If your past screenings were clean, and you're now in your 70s or 80s with no symptoms, is another colonoscopy really helping you? For more and more seniors, the answer is no. And in some cases, these routine repeat tests can actually hurt. Let's talk about what the procedure really involves. Colonoscopy. PREP isn't easy for anyone. But for older adults, it can be especially disruptive. You're drinking large volumes of strong laxatives, flushing your system completely. That process alone can lead to dehydration, low blood pressure, and serious electrolyte imbalances, all of which increase the risk of falls, especially for those who live alone or get up at night frequently. Then comes the sedation. As we age, our brains become more sensitive to medication, and our livers process drugs more slowly. This combination puts seniors at much higher risk for something called post-operative cognitive dysfunction. In simpler terms, confusion, memory lapses, or brain fog that can last for days, weeks, or even months. It's not uncommon for older adults to emerge from a colonoscopy feeling disoriented or unsteady, sometimes leading to falls or accidents at home. But perhaps the biggest concern of all is the time horizon, a concept that's rarely explained. See, colonoscopies are designed to find and remove polyps that might become cancerous. In 10 to 15 years. But if you're already in your mid to late 70s or beyond, and especially if you've had clean results before, that timeline becomes less meaningful. The chance that a slow-growing polyp will ever cause you harm during your remaining years is extremely low. And yet, we continue treating every polyp like a ticking time bomb, when in reality, it may never have become dangerous at all. Let me tell you about Eileen, a retired schoolteacher, 78 years old. She'd had a clean colonoscopy at 68, and another at 73. Still, her doctor recommended one more just to be safe. During the procedure, her colon was accidentally perforated, a rare but serious complication. She ended up needing emergency surgery and spent nearly a month in the hospital. Though she recovered physically, she never quite regained her energy or independence. And to this day, she says no one warned her that the risks could outweigh the benefits. This happens far more often than we'd like to admit. And a big part of the problem is habit. The thinking goes, if it was good for me at 50, it must still be good at 75. But aging changes that equation. What once protected us can later put us at risk, especially when the test no longer offers a clear, meaningful benefit. Here's what matters more: being aware of your current health. If you have new digestive symptoms, unexplained weight loss, persistent pain, or blood in your stool, yes, absolutely, further testing is important. But if you feel well and have a history of clean screenings, then you have every right to pause and reconsider. Being cautious isn't the same as being careless. In fact, it's the opposite. It's understanding that good care means weighing the true cost, not just financially, but physically, emotionally, and mentally. Your body has been through a lot. It deserves care that's thoughtful, not automatic. Let's continue on this journey with wisdom. We've talked about how stress tests can sometimes mislead. But stories like Harold's really drive the point home. Harold was 76, sharp-minded, active, and the kind of grandfather who still got down on the floor to play with his grandkids. He walked every day, had no chest pain, no shortness of breath, no fatigue. By all accounts, he felt great. Then, during his annual checkup, his doctor suggested a stress test, not because Harold had symptoms, but just to be safe. Sound familiar? Harold agreed, thinking it was the smart thing to do. But that one decision set off a chain reaction he never saw coming. The stress test showed a minor abnormality. Nothing urgent, but just enough to raise questions. So the doctor referred him to a cardiologist. The cardiologist ordered a catheterization. During the procedure, they found some plaque buildup, not unusual for someone Harold's age, and not blocking blood flow. Still, a stent was placed, just in case. That's when things took a turn. The blood thinners Harold needed after the stent caused internal bleeding. He was rushed to the hospital, needed transfusions, and spent weeks recovering. His strength dropped, he missed time with family, and for the first time in years, he felt fragile. All of this from a test he didn't need, for a problem that wasn't bothering him. Now this doesn't mean heart disease isn't serious. Of course it is. But Harold's story is a powerful reminder that more testing doesn't always equal better outcomes, especially when there are no symptoms to begin with. What we often forget is that many age-related changes, a little arterial stiffness, minor plaque, are common, even expected. They're part of the natural aging process, not necessarily signs of disease. But the machines we use to detect problems don't have that context. They flag anything unusual, even if it's harmless. And when that happens, doctors feel pressured to act. That leads to more procedures, more risks, and sometimes more harm than good. So what's the alternative? It's simple, but powerful. Listen to your body. Not a machine. Not a protocol. If you're having chest discomfort, unexplained fatigue, or shortness of breath, yes, it's time to dig deeper. But if you're feeling well, sleeping fine, moving around without trouble, your body is sending you a clear message. I'm doing okay. And that message matters. In fact, leading cardiologists now advise against routine stress tests in older adults who don't have symptoms. The evidence shows they don't prevent heart attacks. They don't extend life, but they do create stress. Emotionally, financially, and physically. So maybe the most courageous thing you can do is ask, what am I trying to protect? Is it my heart? Or is it my peace of mind? Because at this age, good health isn't about chasing every what if. It's about preserving what brings you joy, your energy, your clarity, your connection to the people and moments that matter most. Let Harold's story be a gentle nudge, not a scare. You're allowed to pause, to ask questions, to trust yourself. Sometimes, the wisest path forward is the one where you stay still. Let's keep going. Let's shift focus now to one of the most commonly discussed tests for men over 50, the PSA test. You've probably heard of it. PSA stands for prostate-specific antigen, and it's a simple blood test meant to detect early signs of prostate cancer. Sounds helpful, right? After all, catching cancer early is supposed to save lives. But here's something many men aren't told, especially those over 70. Routine PSA screening at this stage of life may actually cause more harm than good. Let me explain why. Prostate cancer is incredibly common in older men. But what's often overlooked is that most of these cancers grow very slowly. So slowly, in fact, that they'll never cause symptoms, never spread, and never affect your lifespan. Many men die with prostate cancer, not from it, but the PSA test. Can't tell the difference between a slow-growing, harmless cancer and an aggressive one. If your PSA level is even slightly elevated, the next step is usually a biopsy, a painful, invasive procedure that comes with risks like infection, bleeding, and even hospitalization. And if the biopsy shows something, even a tiny, low-risk tumor, most people are immediately pushed toward treatment. Surgery, radiation, hormone therapy, all of which come with side effects that can profoundly affect your quality of life. Let me share the story of a man named Richard, 75 years old, retired firefighter, active, no symptoms. His PSA came back a little high during a routine exam. The doctor ordered a biopsy. It found a very small, low-grade tumor. They told him it was nothing urgent, but still recommended surgery just to be safe. Richard agreed. The surgery was technically successful, but afterward, He struggled with urinary incontinence and lost sexual function. He said the recovery left him feeling like half of who I was. And all of it, every bit of suffering, was for a cancer that, by all clinical evidence, might never have grown, spread, or caused harm. Now, this doesn't mean PSA testing is never useful. If you have a strong family history of prostate cancer or symptoms like difficulty urinating, blood in your urine, or unexplained pain, absolutely talk to your doctor. Screening can be life-saving in the right circumstances, but if you feel well, have no risk factors, and are over 70, it's okay, even wise, to press pause. The truth is, medicine is moving towards something called shared decision-making. That means weighing the pros and cons of any test with your doctor based on your goals, your values, and your stage of life. Because good care isn't just about finding problems. It's about knowing not to go looking for ones that may never exist. It's about protecting what matters most: your dignity, your comfort, your peace of mind. So before saying yes to that PSA test just because, ask yourself, is this test likely to change my outcome? Or is it more likely to change my quality of life? You've earned the right to make that choice with clarity, not pressure. Let's wrap this up with one final thought. So, after everything we've covered, all the stories, the risks, the questions, where does that leave us? It leaves us at a place of wisdom. A place where we realize that growing older doesn't mean giving up on health. It means rethinking what healthcare really means. You see, our culture often tells us that more is always better. More checkups, more screenings, more procedures. But as you reach your 70s, 80s, and beyond, the real goal isn't to chase every possible illness. It's to protect what you already have: your time, your clarity, your independence, your peace of mind. And yes, sometimes that means saying no to tests that no longer serve you. Now that's not neglect, that's not denial. That's wisdom. It's taking ownership of your health in a way that's deeply personal. It's knowing that your life isn't just about avoiding disease, it's about living well, being present for your loved ones, enjoying your morning walk, laughing with friends, cooking dinner without pain, worry. That's what real health looks like at this stage. It's also about asking better questions. When your doctor recommends a test, ask, will this change how we treat things? Or is it just adding information that might lead to unnecessary worry? Because not every abnormal result is a danger. And not every danger needs to be found, especially if the finding brings more harm than help. It's time to stop thinking of healthcare as a conveyor belt of automatic decisions. This isn't about protocol, it's about you, your body, your story, your future. And if you've made it this far in the video, I want to thank you, because that tells me you're not afraid to question the system. You're ready to take control of your care with confidence, not fear. So what's the takeaway? Be deliberate, be thoughtful, trust your instincts, and most importantly, talk to your doctor. Open up real conversations. Share what matters to you: your goals, your values, your hopes for the years ahead. You don't have to say yes to every test just because it's available. In fact, saying no when it's right for you may be the most life-affirming decision you ever make. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'd love to hear from you. Share in the comments one thing that resonated with you in this video, and how you plan to use it in your life moving forward. And if you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful content for people just like you. People who want to live wisely, fully, and on their own terms. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay well.